It's changing on the screen. Yeah. Now?
Kia ora i tātou. Tēnei e timata tātou nei hui rero te koro ai te rangi mari i tēnei ata. Tō reira i te māngai me ngā āna hera pono i te tuku tore tapu. Kia tatu mai anō koutou ki wainguni tēnei whakamoemiti o mātou. Hei tātere ngā kupu katoa e whakapua ana e mātou i roto i tō koutou kororiatanga. Ko koutou nei hoki te timatanga me te whakaotinga. Mai o mātou e tumanākotu nei. I roto i tō koutou kororiatanga. Ko koe anō te māngai ki roto hei tautoko mai. Ai anei aka nei ai. Kia ora i tātou. Mai te awa te atua ki tauhara maunga. Ana ko tāra te maunga ko taupo te moana. Nō reira tētahi atu o ngā kōrero. Mai make tū ki tongariro. Ko tongariro te maunga ko taupo te moana. Ko te heuheu te tangata ko Ngāti Tuwharetua te iwi. A tihei muri ora. E tika ka tuku atu te reo whakamoemiti. Ki te rungara o matona manaakitanga ki rungi a tātou. Ko ia te timatanga, ko ia te whakaotinga o ngā mea katoa. Nō reira kororia ki tōnei ngā tapu. O tira Kia tātou nei mate, ki wanginui a tātou I tēnei wā. Rātou, ko haere ki tō te pai o matahua ki tēnei wā. A tātou whanaunga, e noho nei, e hinga nei ki wanginui a tātou nei karaua, no te whare o te heu. Ana haere a whakangaro atu. Tō reire ki ngā mate huhua ke wanginui a tātou hoki. Ako tēnei te wā, ka whahena tia ki rungi te whare ko te mate. Hei mihi, hei tangi, hei poroporo waki. Aha koa rātou, ko whatungaru I te tirohanga tangata, ana mā te aroro ka rātou, he hahu wake, hahu wake. Tara whare te pare kawa, ka hoki taku mihi ki a tātou, e rūpeke mai nei I tēnei rā, tihei mauri ora. Nau mā hara mai a Ngāti Tūwhare toa ki tēnei huhuinga nui o tātou. Ana ko tēnei te hui, mō tēnei tau, ana ka tū mai a te puari o Ngāti Tūwhare toa. Hei whakamōhio atu ki a koutou, he hanga mahi, ko mahi e mātou I te taukua hipa. Ana heha te mahi e pāna ki a tātou nei moana. Heha te mahi ko mahi e mātou, ki rungi a tātou nei marae, ki wanganui a tātou nei hapu. Ana e whakahono ana te puari nei ki a tētahi atu o a tātou nei a puari nui ki roto I a Ngāti Tūwhare toa. Nā era mahi katoa. Ana ko te me tuatahi, ana ka tuku atu ki a koutou e whakapiri mai nei, e whakatata mai nei ki rungi te purangi I tēnei rā. A ko te tino ihia o mātou, ana ki te hare ki te hui a tahi, a kanoi, o tira ko tēnei te ao hau, nā ka noho te Kowhiori-19, ana ko te COVID-19 ki Wainganui a tātou, ana ko koe nei te mea, ka noho ahau ki roto I tēnei tari, ka noho etahi atu o tātou nei kai hautu, a tātou nei kai whakahaere ki roto I te puari, etahi atu tari, mea tātou nei tia mana e noho nei ki roto I te studio ke AVP. O tira ki a koutou a Ngāti Tūwhare toa, ka whakarapopoto te kako o taku paipa, ka tuake nei a hau ki te mihi atu ki a tātou, ahakoa no hea koutou e noho nei, I ngā tōpito o te motu nei, o tira ngā tōpito o te ao, a tēnei mātou no te puari o Ngāti Tūwhare toa. E mihi kau atu ki a koutou e rupeke mai nei tēnei rā, no reira, huri noa a tēnā koutou, a tēnā koutou, a tēnā tātou katoa. A kaore he tira ki mui iahau, hei te tū ki te waiata, o tira mākoe waiata, ki ahau anake. E hara I te mea, no naia nei te aroha, no ngā tūpuna, I tuku iho. Kia ora tātou, kia koe John, kia koe te wā.
Nā mihi nui ki a koe, nā here mō tō karakia timatanga o tātou hui. E te mihi tūtahi ko tātou mātou e te rangi, ko ia te timatatanga, ko ia te whakamutu ngā. Ko tangoriro te maunga, ko taupo nui a tia te mōna, ko tūwhara tōti e ka hea te tangata, ko John Bashara tako ingoa. Can I just firstly, my first task for you is to go through our agenda, but before we do go there, I just want to acknowledge the passing of our really close whanaunga, Gussie, and he's lying at Watatoko right now under these really strange COVID times. And so, because I've got two apologies with people with responsibilities at Watatoko, Georgina Te Hiohia is the first apology from the board, and also our other board member, Takina New. And so they're helping with the tangihana o Gussie. So can I just welcome you all to our hui also for taking your time. It's a beautiful day here in Taupo. I'm sure you've got a lot of other things to do, but I really acknowledge you for making the effort to come and listen to our annual general meeting. Just moving on from that, we've got trustees across the rohe. We're broadcasting to you from Taupo, us three here. We've got our Turangi office where we've got another three trustees. You've just heard Nahere coming from Taupo in the office in Taupo, and Chani Uiko, who's in Taumaranui. And a little bit more about that as we go through. But just out of the agenda, I understand that you'll have it on your screen. And I'll ask in my speech to you, in my report, I will introduce our board. I'll ask Judy to introduce the housekeeping for the day. It's not like it is when we were live. We've got to do the technology. We'll follow through the agenda as presented there today. So with that, Judy, I think I'll pass it over to you for housekeeping.
Kia ora tātou katoa, ko Judy Harris taku ingoa. We are recording today's live stream and we'll be making a video replay available on our website. Slido is the program we are using to receive your questions and for you to vote on the motions. I will provide instructions shortly. In the interest of time, registered members who are online have agreed to move and second the motions. Motions cannot be moved from the floor. The annual report contains summarised financial statements. A copy of the full financial statements is available upon request. I will now provide an overview of how to use Slido to send a question and to vote on the motions. Okay, so to send a question, go up to the Q&A tab in the blue menu bar. Type in your question and push send. You can send a question at any time and all questions will be moderated to check for relevancy, etc. As the Chair said earlier, there is insufficient time today to address all questions. We will endeavour to provide a written copy. To vote on the motions, go to the polls tab. There are 3 voting choices. You can vote in favour or vote against or abstain from the voting on a motion. If your video is in full screen, you will need to pick the polls tab to vote on the motions. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, Judy. Thank you for taking us through that process. And look, I'm pretty new to this technology stuff myself, so let's be patient with each other as we go through the technology. But just, I've got 28 apologies from the Hui today, and just to let you know, our staff are just informing us that there's 50 people online, and we'll keep informing you about that as we progress the Hui today. So the apologies, as I said, from Georgina and Takina, could we add those to the apologies for today? And if you're online, we'd hope that you have the ability to also forward apologies from yourselves or also from whānau members. So if I could ask that the apologies be moved, and we've got a mover, Kim Alexander, and seconded by Courtney Marshall. All those in favour? This is a bit of a practice really, whānau, so we have a bit of a wait, give you a few seconds, and that's passed unanimously, so apologies are carried. Thank you very much. The next item for our agenda is the previous minutes from the previous meeting, and so I'll take these minutes as read. That's and just to say that we've distributed the minutes mostly online and there's a booklet that I have in front of me proving that. But also, if you haven't already, please go to our website for the annual report. So I'm going to take the minutes from the previous meeting as read. And the motion's been moved by Janet Galbraith and seconded by Trish Automey. All those in favour? Against? No abstentions? Carried. Thank you very much, whānau. The next item on the agenda is the Chairman's report. Could I just firstly say that I'd really like to acknowledge our new board members who were appointed in March 2021. And those new board members being Trish Automey, Takina Anu and Chani Uiko. They've quickly picked up the reins of those that they replaced, and they're already making a very positive contribution as board members. Also, congratulations to other returning board members, Dame Georgina Tihoho, Judy Harris, here today with me, Hemi Biddle down in Turangi, Danny Lachlan, who's another apology, that's right. I hope we better record Danny Laughlin's apology because he's got his mum's 80th birthday. So congratulations to that whaia too. But and the other returning member, Tonganui Kingi, and of course myself. At the first meeting of the new board, which is a 3-year term, I was returned as chair by resolution, as was Dame Georgina Tihoho, returned as deputy chair. We also passed a formal resolution or pānui for our ariki to attend our meetings, which was duly accepted by the ariki, and we have really enjoyed Timu's presence with us and his company, and I observed there's a marked improvement in probably the adjectives that I use during meetings, so there's been a marked improvement there with our ariki attending. But also it provides Timu with a sort of direct and first-hand contribution to the board and the board's functions, and he also provides opportunity for Timu to make his guidance and leadership available where appropriate. And so yes, we've really enjoyed having Timu there. I think collectively we each provide all our range of skills and attributes and experiences, and in particular our new members are challenging some of the norms with new views and new ideas, which I'm comfortable with. And it's a natural progression that occurs via the election process. Previously, we have used co-opting to bring members onto the board, and you will have seen Tiwana Tibble appointed for his commercial skills, and Tonganui Kingi representing the younger generation of Ngāti Tūwharetoa, but also his local government knowledge. They were both able to secure elected positions, as you all well know. However, Tiwana was unsuccessful in the previous election, and the board have endorsed his role as chair of the commercial company because he's got some really good skills in that. Our commercial company, Taupo Moana Group Holdings. And I want to acknowledge Tiwana's contribution as a board member previously. Could I also acknowledge our Chief Executive, Shane Hedemaia, and all his staff. It's been a pretty trying year, I would expect, from the staff, especially the new challenges that they've faced with COVID. Also the implementation of new programs. We had a go at the funding, Shane Jones's funding, the PGF funding, and we were successful, so we implemented the Ringaropa project, which is quite a change from the Trust Board. We've not necessarily chased government funding, but in this instance we did, and I think that the new challenges that the staff experienced there, and also this sort of extra pressure of having to be a part of an organisation that's taken a lead in most things in Ngāti Tūwharetoa. So Shane, thank you very much, and thank all the staff for their efforts. The COVID pandemic has continued to disrupt lives of our whānau here at home, and those living around the motu, especially those in Tāmaki. Just this week, confirmation of the new COVID cases in Taupo and Turangi have yet again heightened anxiety and concern for us all. So I wish to acknowledge the challenges many of you are facing right now as lockdowns and restrictions continue to keep us from being together. As in this case with today's annual general meeting, which is our second time we've had to do this, it's not been held our tinana, and it's not our customary way to do this when we come together for these occasions, but these are the extra challenges that we face. Can I just comment on the increase of our whānau, and that it does grow. So year by year, we've had really positive increases on our database. So currently, we carry 23,000 individual people registered with the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board. That growth is reflected in the number of education grant applications we received, and this year for more than 2,000 applications were made in early childhood, secondary, special needs and tertiary. This is an increase of around about 480,000, which is it's a pleasing result. The board is also pleased that we were able to continue the delivery of support and grants to Tūwharetoa, which for the financial year amounted to $2.4 million across education, kaumātua grants, marae capital works and other Tūwharetoa initiatives and grants. This is not an exclusive result for the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, but a collaboration between the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, Ngāti Tūwharetoa Fisheries Trust and ourselves. This is a very successful, enduring relationship that we have developed, which over a number of years now, and I'm very keen to ensure that we continue this relationship. It actually provides excellent efficiencies for our collective organisations without interfering with each other's specific responsibilities. You'll be aware that in 2017, we had filed a declaratory judgment application to the High Court to clarify the extent of our property rights in Taupō Moana. In July, we announced, following a lengthy delay in getting our hearing completed, that the High Court of New Zealand has upheld our rights and propriety owners, including our ability to licence and charge commercial operators a fee for running their business on our property. This is a very significant milestone for Ngāti Tūwharetoa and underpins our role as kaitiaki of Taupō Moana. And so I think that was a great result. Financially, the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board is in a strong position. The financial report the detail of that financial report, Danny Lachlan will be providing. But I'm really pleased to report that we have achieved the $9.2 million net surplus for the financial year. Our group assets are valued around 88 million and our equity has increased to 85 million. And this is up from 75 million. For me, the millions don't matter too much, but what it actually presents us is the strong financial position that provides a stable foundation for the Trust Board to assist in these very unstable times. And there's a number of things that we can't see popping up for us, but this stable financial position is going to help us to be able to deliver to you. And at the same time, deliver to you and your families. As much as this hui is about reporting about the year gone by, it's also about looking forward. We know that COVID-19 is going to be with us for some time yet. The board supports the call from our ariki tā tumiti hauhau to protect our whakapapa and to use trusted information to make an informed decision about vaccination. The hauora and well-being of our people is hugely important, and the protection of our whakapapa is paramount to the survival of Ngāti Tūwharetoa. In closing, whānau, if you haven't yet vaccinated, please get vaccinated. And if you don't get vaccinated, please do not stop your whānau from getting vaccinated, or the well-being of others around you and anyone else that's able to do that. I'm not going to tell you that you must get vaccinated, but I don't want you to be a barrier to our whānau to be vaccinated and the protections that it provides. Whānau, thank you very much for your attention for this report, and I'd like someone to move the Chairman's report. Okay, so the report's been moved by Dominic Bowden and Carla Wairado. Now, I'm supposed to give you more time to vote. What's happening, whānau, on the technology is that there's a number of votes that come through. I'm looking at a screen that says 100% at this time. However, our technos are saying just give you a bit more time so we can receive all your votes, just in case someone's against or abstains. A couple more seconds, I've been told to think. See this thing here in my ear? Yeah. There's a fella talking in my ear. And it's not just Judy. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Just back to the agenda, which is the CEO report. Shane, I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, kia ora, Chair. Yes, the CEO report is going to be presented through a short video, which we will present now.
Ko tongarero te maunga, ko taupōnui atia te moana, ko tūwhare toa te iwi, ko te hauhau te tangata. Tēnā koutou katoa Ngāti Tūwhare toa. I am pleased to report on the activities and results of the Tūwhare Toa Māori Trust Board, the Taupō Waters Trust, and Taupō Moana Group Holdings for the year ended 30 June 2021. Our key highlights include the High Court confirming our property rights in Taupō Waters, providing $2.4 million in grants and support to Ngāti Tūwhare Toa, providing $842,000 in jointly funded education grants and scholarships, and achieving a $9.2 million net surplus. Our strategic plan, Ngā Ara Matua, is made up of 4 pou which guide our work and strategic objectives. Pou Taiao covers our taonga tukuiho and guides our mahi as kaitiaki of our moana and awa. During the reporting period, the High Court issued a declaratory judgment confirming our property rights in Taupō Waters, including our ability to charge commercial businesses for operating on the lake and rivers. We filed the High Court application back in 2017, so it is pleasing to have our rights clarified for all parties concerned.
We've had a long association with Tūwhare Toa. I've gone through a lot of comms dating back to the early 90s from the Waipihihi Hapu, who were always really supportive of my dad's vision. Really, it's been really good to work with the Trust Board. We've been really transparent with what we've wanted to achieve. They've been very supportive of what we've wanted to achieve, and it's, you know, the results are here for everyone to enjoy. Kia ora koutou.
The Ngāti Tūwhare Toa Mercury Development Group provided $218,000 in funding to support a range of Tūwhare Toa initiatives, rangatahi and environmental projects. We contributed to the development of Waikato the Wanderer, a 15-minute animated video educational resource which tells a Ngāti Tūwhare Toa story about the creation of the Waikato River. Our natural resources team has continued to coordinate and provided strategic support to marae and hapu throughout the year. The team was involved in reviewing more than 300 notifications during the year ranging from the Turangi water supply to monitoring developments for a proposed commercial zipline operation near the Hooker Falls. Pou Tikanga enables us to provide support to our hapu and marae with a focus on helping to capture and protect our tūwharetoa mātauranga. During the year, we provided $427,000 in joint project funding with the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust to support 5 marae projects.
Thanks to the Tūwharetoa Trust Board and Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, we've been able to initiate this project predominantly on the restoration of the wharenui itself and the immediate area outside it. Nō reira, nā mihi kia koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
And we paid $256,000 in premiums to provide insurance cover for 27 marae. During the year, we also undertook a 3-yearly valuation exercise with marae. The uncertainty of COVID-19 during the year affected our ability to hold korowai āwhina hui for our marae committees, kanohi ki te kanohi. So these were held virtually online with 16 marae taking part. Pou Tangata directs our commitment to supporting the educational well-being and health of our people. We currently have around 23,000 registered members, and this continues to grow each year. During the reporting period, we approved more than 2,000 education and scholarship grant applications. This was a big increase, up from 1,500 applications for the previous year. Te Kohanga Reo Early Childhood and Secondary School NCEA grants are the 3 most popular grants. And $315,000 was paid out as Kaumātua medical grants to support the hauira and well-being of our elderly. Under our Ringaropa project, we continue to provide full-time employment for a dozen Tūwharetoa people who have carried out a range of marae renovation works around the rohe. This was initially a 12-month project. Looking ahead, we will be funding the project for a further 12-month term to provide ongoing employment for Tūwharetoa uri. COVID-19 has continued to affect people around the world. During the year, our focus has been to encourage Ngāti Tūwharetoa to protect our whakapapa and to use trusted sources of information to make informed decisions about being vaccinated. We are looking at other ways to provide ongoing support to our people in conjunction with the Araki's office and other Tūwharetoa entities. Pou Tata Vai covers the way we operate and manage our mahi and responsibilities. The Trust Board's triennial elections were held at the beginning of the year to appoint the trustees for the 2021 to 2024 term. Due to COVID-19, online voting was made available. It was pleasing to see a higher than normal number of votes received. The 10 positions available on the board were all filled. Communicating and engaging with our people is important. We have continued to support our iwi radio station Tūwharetoa FM and are excited by their move to their new accommodation and the Turangi Town Centre. The number of social media followers increased to more than 7,500 on Facebook, and there have been almost 10,000 views of our YouTube videos to date. The use of such technology has been helpful to staying in touch as COVID-19 has continued to place restrictions on the ability to come together. The Taupo Waters Trust is the entity which holds title to the bed of Taupo Moana on behalf of Ngāti Tuwharetoa and through which revenue payable by the Crown is received. The Trust's balance sheet appreciated by $3.6 million or 13% over the year because of an increase on asset revaluation. The forecast for the year ahead is predicted to be at a similar level as the bulk of income comes from the energy sector, which itself is performing well. Taupo Moana Group Holdings is our commercial subsidiary which aims to create employment for our people, create new revenue streams and build our long-term wealth. It is well known that COVID-19 has had a detrimental impact on tourism businesses right around the world. The focus for TMGH has been on maintaining profitability as much as possible. In some cases, the company has had to descale operations. For example, the popular hole-in-one golf in Taupo had its operational days reduced. On a more positive note, the company was pleased to see the development of a cadetship program with Chris Jolly Outdoors and TPK to provide practical work experience and training for Tuwharetoa rangatahi. This was recently launched and saw a team of 6 rangatahi take up this awesome opportunity. To conclude, the 2020-2021 year has been a period of ongoing uncertainty and change for many of us as the pandemic continues. We are pleased that we have still been able to maintain our core grants and services despite the COVID-19 environment. Our tupuna have persevered in previous times of uncertainty and challenge. We have learned from their steadfastness and commitment to maintain that discipline and approach. It would not be possible without the confidence and support of our people. So in closing, I wish to acknowledge Ngāti Tuwharetoa Whānui and look forward to being of support in the year ahead.
So the motions are that the CEO operational report be received. The motions have been moved by Vernon Ramika and seconded by Bubs Smith. So whānau, if you could please vote now using the poll tab in Slido. And we'll give you a moment to register your votes.
And whānau, just as we're voting at this time, we're going to move or present the financial report, and at the end of the financial report, once we've passed the motion, I'd like to get our trustee members to introduce themselves. We've got about 60 people, so it's gone up by 10, and I think that's a good time for us to introduce trustees.
So that motion has been carried unanimously with no votes against.
Kia ora whānau. So this is our financial report that's been pre-recorded by Daniel Lachlan. So I'd like if we can start the video now. The duration is about 14 minutes whānau. Enjoy. says 40 minutes on the slide.
Firstly, it's important to understand our organisational and financial structure. At the top of the structure is the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board. From there we have two subsidiaries, Ngāti Tūwharetoa FM Charitable Trust and the Taupo Waters Trust. The main asset of Taupo Waters Trust is of course Taupo Waters, which comprises the beds of Lake Taupo, the tributaries that flow into Lake Taupo, and the Waikato River from the outlet of Lake Taupo to Te Toka Atia below Hooker Falls. The Taupo Waters Trust established Taupo Moana Group Holdings to look after investments in commercial businesses, primarily tourism. The hole-in-one Taupo business, purchased in November 2017, is a 100% owned subsidiary of Taupo Moana Group Holdings. The investment in the Jolly business was added in 2020, which forms part of Taupo Moana Group Holdings. When we add the financial results of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, Tūwharetoa FM, Taupo Waters Trusts and Taupo Moana Group Holdings, making sure that we don't count anything twice, we get our group results, also known as consolidated financial statements. The assets held by the Trust can be grouped into 5 key areas. First, we have $54 million of investments, which is comprised of funds under management, a bond secured by the gondola on Ruapehu Maunga, our investment in the Tūwharetoa Property Investment Limited Partnership, which includes properties like the schools in Taupo District, 50% of Jolly Boats, and 100% in the hole-in-one business. Next, we have Taupo Waters, which was recently valued at $19.8 million. The main contributor to this value being the operating easement we have in place with Mercury Energy. The next major component is receivables and inventory of $7.8 million. This is mainly the value of the income arising from the deed of co-governance and co-management for the Waikato River, which has 9 years to go and is recorded in today's dollars. $2.9 million other fixed assets includes the cruise boats, motor vehicles and plant and equipment. And finally, we also held $2.6 million in cash. The group financial performance for the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, the year ended 30th of June 2021, has returned excellent results. The group revenue of $17.5 million includes a $1.5 million annuity payment from the Crown for access to Taupo Waters for recreational purposes, $2 million for lake bed easement, mainly from Mercury Energy. We received $1 million in cash for the Waikato River Fund. $1.1 million of mitigation funding was received from Genesis and Mercury. $801,000 co-funding from Ngāti Tūwharetoa Fisheries and the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust directed at education and marae grants. We had $7.5 million in income from our investments. Group revenue also includes income from our subsidiaries Taupo Waters Trust and Tūwharetoa FM. Our group operating expenses were $6.9 million for the year. This was up on last year as we had new projects like the Ringaropa. We had $1.3 million in grants like marae insurance and mitigation fund payments. We also had $1.1 million paid as distributions to members for education grants and kaumātua payments like hearing aids and glasses. The value of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board was $75 million at the beginning of the year. After making a surplus of $8 million and a $1.9 million revaluation of the lake bed, the equity or net assets of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board rose to 85 million as at 30th of June 2021. The group financial performance for the Taupo Waters Trust for the year ended 30th of June 2021 was pleasing given the impact of COVID-19. The revenue of $4.1 million is comprised of $2 million from Mercury in relation to the operating easement over Taupo Waters and commercial licences we have with commercial operators, and $1.8 million from Taupo Moana Group Holdings Limited, including its subsidiaries. There were $2.4 million in operating expenses for the year, including staff and costs for our tourism businesses. The value of Taupo Waters Trust was $28 million at the beginning of the year. After making an operating profit of $1.7 million and the revaluation of the lakebed asset, the equity or net assets of the trust increased to $31.5 million as at 30th of June 2021. Under the new Trust Boards Act, we are required to present a budget for the following financial year. This budget includes the full Mercury and Genesis Energy grants, but doesn't include subsidiaries such as Taupo Waters Trust or Tūwharetoa FM. We projected a small deficit of $144,000 after grants and distributions, which will be offset by distribution from Taupo Waters Trust.
So the motions are, and there are a number, I'll read them out one by one. That the financial report be received, that the summarised financial statements of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board for the year ended 30 June 2021 be received, that the summarised financial statements of the Taupo Waters Trust for the year ended 30 June 2021 be received, that the budget for the next accounting year, 1 July 2021 to 30 June 2022, be received, that the appointment of Silk's Audit as auditors for 2021 to 2022 be approved. All of these motions have been moved by Hinemoa Henderson and seconded by Cheyenne Marshall Duff. If you could please vote now, whānau, using the poll tab in Slido, and we'll give you a minute to register your votes. Just a reminder, you can vote in favour of the motion, you can vote against it, or you can abstain.
Kia ora tātou. So the process and the technology is telling us that we'll go through the motions one by one. So the first motion, that the summarised financial statements of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board for the year ended 30 June 2021 be received. That was, we had 2 abstentions for that, so it's passed in favour, carried. The second motion, that the summarised financial statements of the Taupo Waters Trust for the year ended 30 June 2021 be received, and we see that as 100% in favour, so that is carried. The second motion, that the budget for the next accounting year, 1st of July 2021, 30 June 2022 be received. And that's, we have 2 abstentions and 98% in favour, so the motion is carried. The next motion. That the appointment of Silk's Audit as auditors for the 21-22 financial year be approved. No abstentions, 100% in favour, so rule that is carried. Thank you, whānau. Hey, just an update. I understand that there's now 65 people, and that's I think that's computers that are hooked up to us, so there might be more people. But I just want to remind you too that we're progressing pretty well. In general business, we'll take questions, but I also just want to say that because we have a lot of time, the opportunity for us to introduce ourselves is now available. So we're going to cut across to Tūrangi.
Hoi anō, kia ora tātou te whānau. Ko te matau hipo o rā kei poho te hiwi maunga, ko Waimarino te awa, ko Korohe te marae, ko Ngāti Ine te hapu, ko Ngāti Tū Wharatō te iwi. A tihei te mauri o te ora, o Hemi James Biddle, a tōku ingoa, a tēnei te mihi kia putau, ngā whanaunga, ko Ngāti Tū Wharatō, tēnei te mihi, no reira, a tēnā tātou tātou.
Tēnā rā tātou katoa e te whānui, nei rā te mihi ko watu kia koutou i tēnei wā. Me te whakaroaroha, kia kukasi ki te whānau panira ki wai te toko, tapoto mai e koro, tapoto mai. Ko wau tētihi o ngā pononga mo te iwi. No ngā pāpāringa, o taupo moana, o roto aira moana, no ngā hiwi katoa, mai ngā poke, tai atu ki te riu o Waikato, tēnei te mihi ko watu, ko Trish Otumi tōku ingoa, kia ora mai.
Kia ora tū, kia ora whānau, ko Tanganui Kingi tōku ingoa, and I'm a Waihesian baby from down by the lake. Kia ora.
Kia ora tātou, ko ngā here o tōku ingoa, heri te kia ko tā Trish kōrero, ko tōku whakapapa e neke atu ki te mātāpuna, taino mai ki te hikuai, ana ko Waitaha Nui tōku kāna noho, i tēnei wā, kia ora hui tātou.
Marira kia koutou e te hiwi whānui o Ngāti Tū Whareto, tēnei te mihi aro kia koutou i tēnei rangi. Ai, e te tautoko oi nā mihi kua mihia, kei a koe te tuakana e ngāhere, tautoko tō mihi tuatahiki, ka tika me mihi ati ki te rongarawa, ko ia te timatanga me te whakautinga o ngā mea katoa, ka huri au ki ngā mate huho te wā haere, haere atu rā, kei te whare o te heu ki te pāpai e koro, te rangatirang kukasi, koutou rā ngā mate uia marae, ngā mate huri no te mutu, huri no te au huri, ngā mate o te tauta marama te wiki, haere, moi mai rā i runga te aroha, me te rangi mārie, no reira, haere atu rā, koutou rā te whānui e noho ana kare ro te kapua pauri, kia kaha kia mai a ke manawanu. Ko wai tēnei e mihi nei, he au, he uri a hau, no ngā hapu o Ngāti Turimākina, Ngāti Waiwai, Ngāti Maninui, Ngāti Kairo, Ngāti Karauia, Ngāti Hinemihi, Ngāti te maunga hoki. Ko te heu rawa ko Miriama, iwi keu anō ko te tauri pini te hanairo, rawa ko Maria Downs oku mātua tūpuna. Ko Duncan rawa ko Charmaine, iwi keu oku mātua. Ko Jenny iwi keu tōku ingoa, no reire te iwi whānui, he mihi kau atu kia koutou e hui mai nei ki runga te kaupapa, wharanga o tēnei wā, A hapa te ariki, hapa te iwi. Hapa te iwi, hapa te ariki, hapa te whareto. A te nako te.
Tēnā tātou e nā kaitiaki. Can I just, it actually brings us to a conclusion of our formal presentations and reports, and the opportunity for our board members to introduce themselves. And now I'd like to move into question time. I understand there's 4 questions that are available to us right now. As we go through those 4 questions, I will encourage everyone live streaming to even dream up some questions if you like. So yeah, there's no wrong question, and it's just the engagement I think that we can. That's what we're looking for here. So if that concludes all our matters for the board, I will go to general business, and the first question, please, Maho. It's supposed to be there. So we've got a question, whānau, so technically someone's supposed to read it out.
Okay, the first question we have today for our hui comes all the way from Riria, Chihuahua. Thank you, Eho, for your patai. And the question for the board is as follows. Is there a COVID code for checking into at the marae when attending a hui or a tangi?
Yes, I understand that there is, and it's up to those marae to apply to receive that code. And initially it was quite difficult to get that code. The government seemed to be quite protective about who should get it. But I understand now that it's an easier process for marae to be able to access.
This next one is more of a message from whānau all the way out at Otuko. Tēnā koutou, on behalf of Otuko Marae, I would like to thank you for the Ringaropa support earlier this year. The crew did an amazing job in their mahi. Thank you, Courtney Marshall.
Kia ora, Courtney. Look, this program, as I said in my report around that we applied to get the funding to do this, look, it's proven to be a very, very good help to marae. We've got skilled supervisors, we've got workers that are really, really keen and have been trained and have picked up new skills, and it's something that I think in the next couple of years, Shane, that we'd like to continue where we can, which means that we'll be seeking more funding to do that. But I think it's been a really, really good experience, a really, really good program. It's the values of the program have been appreciated, like Courtney has said from Otuko. I know at Waihi we're the same. So if any other members want to comment on the Ringaropa program and the future of it. Kia ora, him.
Okay, our next question comes
Maho,
from Titahi.
Maho, can I just cut in? Sorry, Maho. Hemi Biddle and Turangi.
Just to thank the board, John, from the Korohe Marae. The Ringaropa project has been very good there, fantastic work done. And the crew are coming back just to finish off a little bit of painting here and there, but a really fantastic job. And my kaupapa, I'm hoping that we can continue with John. I know we're looking to continue in some way in the coming year, but hopefully we'll be able to keep this thing going on a longer term basis, try and get as much support to our marae as we can. But a great program. Kia ora tata.
Kia ora, him. Thank you. Any other question, Maho?
Okay, this pātai is from Perihia. Haere, thank you for your pātai. Do we need to write to the office to get the consolidated accounts?
Kia ora, Perihira. No, you don't need to write to the office to get the consolidated accounts. They are contained in the annual report, albeit in a summarised version. So that's available online, but you could also request a physical copy from the office. But you can just ring up to get that. Also, if you are wanting to get the detailed consolidated accounts, those are available also, and with those just give us a call at the Tūwhareto Māori Trust Board and we can get those sent out to you.
Okay, next one is a message from Amy Walker on behalf of Hirangi Marae. Ngā mihi ki te Tūwhareto Māori Trust Board for the capital grant. That comes from Ngāti Turangi Tuku.
Just pass over to Judy.
Kia ora, Chair. I'd like to give a shout out to Rauhoto Marae concerning the Ringaropa. They have, just last week, they had their opening for the Marakai Raised Gardens, and it was just a terrific job that they've done over there. They've got about 10 raised gardens. They're about 5 foot off the ground, and we've got a hothouse over there, and we just had the karakia opening last Thursday. And thank you so much for the Trust Board for all the effort and mahi that they've put into the program.
Gee, there must be giants at Rauhoto, 5 foot high raised gardens.
I think it just makes a difference because the community, we actually live around that marae, so it's okay for us to maintain.
Maho.
Next question is from Titahi Tarawa. How many new start-up Māori-owned businesses has the board supported in the financial year?
I think I could answer that one, and it's zero. One of the things that we have not done yet is progressed into individual ownership in our support for individual ownership of businesses, and I'm assuming that we're talking about on the lake. So, however, it's one of the goals inside the commercial space is to support Ngāti Tūwhareto people to start businesses on the lake. Sometimes, or we've had comments, I've had comments to me that the Trust Board's trying to own everything on the lake, and that's not our purpose at all. We're at the sort of juvenile stages of our commercial opportunities on the lake, and if anything, we're demonstrating that we can do it in the first instance. And I think, or I believe actually strongly, that the change from the declaratory judgment, some of the other operators are going to really think about whether they should maintain. So, yeah, no, we haven't any, but it's something that we could do in the future. Next question, Maho. And it's good that we've
Next question comes from Sharon Tarangi. Tēnā koutou katoa. Will there be discussions around vaccination status for marae hui in the future?
I think that discussion is ongoing, not just around marae hui, and I understand that all marae, it's not just an issue for marae but also hapu, whānau and hapu and individuals. So Sharon, I think keep up the good work, keep the good information being distributed from our marae hui. Just keep it up, I'd say. Maho's also just said to me there's heaps of questions coming home. Awesome, whānau, or coming in. So that's awesome.
Our next question is from Veronica Turner. Thank you, Veronica. He ha te runga raupa.
Kia ora, Veronica. Ko ngā kupu ringa raupa I ahu mai I te tehe o ngā whakatauki moe a te tangata ringa raupa. Nā reira, moe a te tangata kaha ki te wahi. Nā reira, koira te ingoa kua tangohia e mātau hei ingoa mō te tehe project I whakahaere nei I te puari I tēnei tau kua pahuri ake. So we've taken those kupu from that whakatauki for our project that we've been undertaking for the last year. It involves 10 workers being sent around to 5 marae throughout the rohe over the past year. So they went to Kakahi, Waihi, Korohe, Otuko and Nukuho. So that work has been completed now at the 5 marae over the past year. It's been a really successful project as the chair has said, but koina te tikanga o te runga raupa.
The next partai comes from Christina Asher. Will you consider broadening educational grants to include tertiary students areas other than law, science, commerce and Indigenous studies?
No, I understand that we are already relatively broad. So at the moment, it may seem that those law, science, commerce and Indigenous studies is there. However, we do take grants for tertiary students in other areas. So I'd like to think that we have an inclusive grant system, but it is something that the comms on that Shane we may have to make clearer that how broad we believe it to be.
Pātai Jonathan Tirire. Pehea te kaha o ngā hohunga o Tongariro, o Tauhara ki Pūtauaki, ara mai I te Trust Board ki Tuwharetoa ki Kawerau.
Kia ora, Jonathan. O tēnā ko Tuwharetoa aha ko kaihea. Kei te whakai tātou katoa ki tērā. Hoi anō, we're needing to strengthen, I think, those relationships, particularly with Tuwharetoa ki Kawerau. And we've tried to do so in certain circumstances. Of course, the Tuwharetoa ki Kawerau people, as you know, Jonathan, have their own organisations over there. But for instance, with COVID last year, when we were trying to send out support to our Tuwharetoa people, we tried to make an effort to send that support out to Kawerau. So I think we've got to keep looking for those opportunities to keep strengthening the bonds between us, because certainly I think we all agree that we are all tūwhare toa, and it's important to work together as much as possible.
Can I just add to that too? It's I think in my time on the board that the ability for the trust board to broaden its base, its support base, and we have done that in the time I've been on the trust board. However, if you go back to the beginnings, those people, it was those Māori 44, I think it was Māori land blocks who were adjacent to the lake, and it's those people who were the ones that took the benefits from the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board. Now that was in 1926, and that's nearly 95 years ago. And since then it's been extended, like the number of marae that we support has been extended, and even it's not necessarily individual people, but just in my mind, it's always been that if there'll be some people that won't be benefactors of the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, and it appears to me that our tupuna who were tūwharetoa, that we all whakapapa too, or receive our whakapapa, it should capture just about everyone who is tūwharetoa, even though that was the original owners of the original blocks that surrounded the lake, were the people that had the entitlement for the trust board. But hey, because of our tupuna, our uncles and our aunties previous to us, they always look to extend it to the wider tūwharetoa people, their marae and their hapu.
Tēnā koe, Jonathan. I'm just probably the Ngāti Tūwharetoa Fisheries is our closest relationship to Ki Kawerau, and over the years we've kept in contact we always acknowledge our kawerau whānau, and like John said, we'll just keep those relationships going.
And I think we were caught speaking amongst ourselves in the financial report. Hemi Biddle text us and say, hey, you fellas are talking amongst yourselves and I can hear you. But that's what we were talking about actually. Jonathan, we were talking about the value that those other organisations like TST and the Fisheries Trust, what they bring to the relationships that we have. It actually broadens the spread of services and benefits to people that aren't necessarily just those of the Trust Board. So, it's a valued relationship we have, and I think we can learn from that enduring relationship that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep asking the question and go harder, faster. Maho. Keep going. Maho's just saying to me that there's a shitload of there's a number of questions coming through, and so I just want to keep going, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. Our next partai is about our marae insurance scheme. Regarding the marae insurance scheme and the procurement of services, what was the procurement process in appointing Aon, that's an insurance company, and were other providers considered? Thank you, Jeanette, for your part.
Kia ora, Jeanette. So we did undertake quite a elaborate procurement process, which involved sending out invitations to those who were might be suitable, and there were 4 who were originally in the running, and then just working through that process with them to determine how they stack up against what we needed, And in the end, it got down to two preferred suppliers, of which Aon was one, and that was who won the day at the end of the day.
Thank you, Shane. We have a pātai here from Hine Mohi. Thank you, Hine. Kia ora for your pātai. Following on, Shane, from Ringaropa on the grants, would the Trust Board consider separating capital grants from maintenance grants? The two criteria, capital and maintenance, are unrelated.
Yeah, kia ora, Hine. Actually, that is the way things are moving at the moment. So we've got the Ringaropa program, which is pretty much maintenance, but then also this year we've got a change in the capital grants program. So the change is that there's a move towards trying to undertake more significant, bigger projects with the capital grants projects, and then keep the Ringaropa for maintenance grants. So that change is occurring within the capital grants program this year. So the aim is to try and focus on those marae that have quite big and serious projects to undertake. Because what we were finding with the capital grants project is that, it was quite difficult to undertake big projects with that. So now we've made that change. So I think it's probably more and going to be more in line with what you're thinking.
Next question comes from Lydia, and she asks, would you consider broadening education grants to whānau who live and study overseas?
Can we cut over to Turangi? Hear me?
Well, it's my understanding, Chair, that we are considering it, but that we haven't done so to date. I lived in Australia myself and was trying to access some of our Trust Board and Land Trust grants. But at that time, there was some difficulty in terms of sending the grants across to Australia, but my understanding is that it is being looked at. Again, our understanding is that our population is, at our last census, was around 37,000 here in New Zealand. We've also received some information, not yet confirmed, but that we've got a similar number of that living in Australia as well. So to extend the program would be a major undertaking, but my understanding is management are having a look at how that might be done, and Shane might be able to add a bit more to that kaupapa.
Yeah, so this was a question that was also raised at last year's AGM, and off the back of that we have went to investigate the issue. We've gotten some advice about it. And yeah, as Hemi says, we're just needing to look at what the impact of that might be on our program. It probably would have quite a significant impact, but that's just a decision that the board are in the process of making.
We have a message from Mr. Warren Osborne. Congratulations to the trustees and staff for another outstanding and sustainable year of governance and management performance. Once again, ka nui ngā mihi. Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
Kia ora, thank you.
Pātai from Heni Unwin. Thanks to the board as the receiver of the education grant. Heni's pātai is, what is your plan to capture those who have graduated and creating succession within the iwi?
The succession in Ngāti Tūwharato is something that all boards and industries are are considering strongly. I talked about that in my report, where we as a trust board, we get natural succession because we're elected every 3 years, so we all stand down, and it's up to our people to elect those ones with the skills and the attributes that they believe should be on the board. And as we become more transparent about the businesses that we and the strategies that we have in place, you become more engaged in the work that we do. So, succession is as much as understanding exactly what's needed, but it's and having the skills to be able to implement it. So, we believe that the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board Fruits selection process is one of the one organisation that takes it seriously. The other side is the staff that we employ. We've seen a huge change, Shane, in turnover in staff, and it's a good turnover. It's a good turnover because other people are valuing the experiences that our staff have, and it's moved them on to other better positions and careers in other areas. And then it's created the space to be able for us to employ more, or to give others an opportunity to have the experience to work here at home. The other side for many of us who have some of the trustee roles, we see that it's really difficult, for instance, to find skilled accountants and lawyers, and that they would want to come home. That's changing a little bit with COVID, and you might see more change too, where there's more value for that whānau to come home to bring their young ones back here, rather than living overseas in Australia or Europe or even in England. I know another organisation I'm with is that we've just interviewed for an accountant. And that person is coming back to start with us from London. She's in London at the moment, and she'll come back, and she's whānau. And so that's the sort of succession that I'd like to see.
Question from Mr. Richard Ramika. With the strong equity, will there be further consideration to allow more benefits and grants and support to marae and our kaumātua?
Yeah, so as you can see from the excellent financial results achieved this year, there is substantial equity there, although probably a couple of things there is, one, it comes from the revaluation of the lake, and two, it also comes from an excellent result on our portfolios, our financial portfolios, but that's not all cash. I won't bore you with the long story, but I think nonetheless there is still a good amount of equity there, and I think that's something that we'll need to talk to the board about.
Thanks, Shane. Can I just add to that? I suppose again the learnings that we've had inside the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, after that 95-year history of delivering the service in Ngāti Tūwharetoa, that prudent financial management is a key. And like I said in my report, I'm really glad that we've got this stable and we've got really good, stable, sustainable results that we've achieved in the financial area. And that gives us confidence to be able to not just deliver grants, to our marae and our kaumātua, but to look at other ways that we can actually increase the well-being of those ones we're trying to target. So I think, I think the answer is yes. In the context, prudent financial management is important for us.
Angela Malcolm says, tēnā tātou. I just wanted to say that the High Court ruling on Taupo Lakebed in favour of Ngāti Tūwhare Toa is absolutely fantastic and shows great leadership.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Donna Inia. What are Tūwhare Toa thoughts regarding the three waters, and do they have a voice with these discussions?
I might be able to answer that. I don't think there is a collective Tūwhare Toa view at present. The legislation, though, is moving quite quickly. Could I just say too that the Minister announced my appointment to the board that's considering this legislation. I withdrew just because of I've got some professional and personal reasons for that. But it's we are a major water contributor to this nation and have been for 95 years. And even more, and I think that it's something that Tūwhare Toa, we're just busy. We're a busy tribe, so to have one view about it is we haven't had that discussion. However, people like councils and all that, they're talking about it, but we haven't we haven't laid our cards on the table at the present moment.
Thank you, Connie Underwood, for the next question. Would the Trust Board consider lowering the age for kaumātua grants?
Yes, we get this question often, and look, I don't want to bat it off, but it's always considered. It's considered in the context that our people don't live as long, or their journey to that 65 is a lot more difficult. But I'd take the point, and I think that's been considered.
Philip says, tēnā koe, a big thank you from me and his pepes to the board for all the mahi that has been done. Āmihi.
Kia ora, Philip, thank you.
Our friend Mr. Richard Ramika asks again, kia ora koutou, well done on a strong balance sheet. Revenue forecasts which were mentioned. Is there a strategy for further investment for the future?
The current investment strategy, the Trust Board, there's two tranches to it that we have. There's we've got a number of investments, and we at the moment our investments are managed, our funds under management with EB Investor, Taupo Warner Group, and however our commercial company, Taupo Warner Group Holdings, is looking at other investment opportunities also. So I understand, and I'm not the investment expert, but I understand that sort of, a dollar each way is a really good strategy, and understanding where it is best to invest our money to get the best return. So yes, that is and we will continue. We're very conservative too, by the way, and that conservatism helps us to ensure that we don't flitter our money away.
Another question here from Peter here. Insurance is a killer. Is there a feasible option to paying insurance companies by potentially looking at collaborating with other boards around the motu?
Can I answer that one, Shane? I'll just before Shane answers, so look, we have looked at self-funding ourselves rather than having insurance, and when we were looking at it, we hadn't had any major claims. However, we've seen the value of insurance just recently, with some major claims coming from our marae. And so that makes, again, we're cautious about it, but we're also practical in the approach that one day, this may save one of our marae, and it may save us the cost, but at the moment it's affordable. But yes, no, we are considering what else. We would just self-fund, we just don't have insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the answer, and in terms of there being a pan-iwi initiative that wants to insure everybody, we haven't really seen that, and it's quite a big job. We have iwi Investor that does a similar thing for iwi in the investment space. But yeah, we probably haven't really seen anything that would do the trick for us to date.
Charles Davidson has just sent this message just to say thank you to the board for the supermarket gift card sent to Tamaki Makoto Kaumatua. This was much appreciated.
Yeah, and just on that, it would have been great if we could send those out to everybody, but that wasn't possible. But we thought probably the group to perhaps focus our efforts on at this point in time are our Kaumatua in Auckland, who are doing it hard and have been for the last couple of months.
Okay. Can I just provide some feedback around the grant system, and especially for us trustees? All the time that I've been on the trust board, I'm really humbled, and it's a really humbling response when you get letters. You get letters from people thanking you for their grants, and I just think our people are so humble in that sense, and it's a really humbling feeling. So the work is vast and it's expensive, and it's highly valued. But our ability to talk to you and to get your engagement and get your feedback and get the thanks for the work that we do is hugely important. And if we can keep on doing that more, and that's our role. It sounds like some of the questions that are coming through, there might be a few, but asking the same question. And could I just say that if there's any other questions that you have that we haven't already covered, then please ask them. Otherwise, we'll start to slow the questions down, if that's okay.
Okay, another question here from Jeanette. Risk management is the next annual report. Can we include the risk framework, specifically each risk category, mitigations versus the risk appetite position?
Yeah, kia ora, Jeanette. We do have a risk management framework that we use more internally within the organisation, and we also have an audit and risk committee, of course, as well, that monitors that framework alongside the board. So that's a question that I can put to our audit and risk committee. At the moment, as I said, it's more of an internal document, but we could have a think about whether that could be made more available.
Jeanette goes on to ask, is there a path to reduce insurance claims? Do we have these incidents recorded on the risk register to mitigate claims?
Is there a path to reduce insurance claims?
I might answer that. So the majority of insurance claims or our insurance is over our marae. And what we do to reduce the claim is to assist marae or work with marae or discuss with marae their risk mitigation, whether it be by fire or any other loss around the marae. And so that's something that's discussed with the marae, 3 or 4 times a year, around their capacity to be able to manage that risk. Otherwise, what we're doing is protecting our marae, which is protecting our whakapapa, protecting our tikonga. So you won't get anyone else ensuring that. But we actually, the Trust Board, takes up that responsibility to, if we do lose those taonga, that there is some value associated with it, and then we can recognise that value via a claim. And I think that's what I was alluding to, without getting into too much detail, when the last couple of big claims come through. I understand it was nearly, it didn't cover the whole cost. They had to get more putia to cover the whole cost, but without our insurance they wouldn't have been able to even start. It appears, whānau, that we've exhausted the questions, and I enjoyed them anyway. I enjoyed the questions, always do, the engagement with you. So that concludes our AGM for 2022. Can I just again thank you all for your participation, thank trustees for the time and effort you've put in over the year, again acknowledging our staff shown through you, and that we look forward to continue the good work that we've progressed. I'd like to cross over to Chani, our whanaunga and taumaranui, to close our hui. Kia ora.
Tātou kone tō mihi e te tiamana, koutou ra nami mō te puari, kia kui te kai whakahaere sei, mi o tima. Te hapai na kaupapa kei wange nui a tūwhareto, no rere te iwi tēnei te mihi, harua kia koutou i tēnei wā, kia inoi tātou. Tēnei te mauri kia tau te mauri, kia uu ko te mauri whakairi, kia uu ko te mauri whakamā, kia uu ko te mauri whakaū, kia uu ko te mauri ora tangata, kia uu ko te mauri tiahu i roto, kia uu ko te mauri rarama i roto, kia uu ko te mauri piati i roto, he mauri pūaho-waho, he mauri pūrama-rama, he mauri ora tangata, kia uu ko te mauri uri ora, kia uu ko te hau o te ora, kia uu ko te wai o te ora, kia uu ko te wairua. Oro ia mai mātou i te wai orongo, te wai tuhi, te wai tahi, te wai rua e tauwehe te taumaha, te wai rua e tauwehe te kino, te wai rua e tauwehe te mate. Tukua mai te wai hā, te wai huka-huka, tukua mai te wai rehu-rehu, te wai rua, te wai o te ora, kia uu ko te hau o te ora. Whiria mai mātou te hau mātangi nui, te hau puhi, te hau pure, te hau pai mārere, te hau ora. Kia hauora tia te tinana, kia hauora tia te hinengaro, kia hauora tia te wairua, kia apiki ko te ora, kia tau ko te ora, kia uu ko te ora, kia uu, tihei, mauri ora. Ora, he te iwi.
peace.